In the 40th year of my marriage to Rex Zhuang, I passed away suddenly from overwork. For 40 years, I cared for my mother-in-law, who was paralyzed for 35 years, and raised my son to adulthood. My final wish before death was to be buried beside my parents, but the next day, my remains were donated without compensation to the research institute where Rex Zhuang's first love worked. Two elderly people, both over half a century old, kissed passionately in front of my withered, naked corpse. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have missed all these years. But over these years, she raised our child for us, and now she's funding your research. I suppose that barely makes up for a fraction of her mistakes. It's just a shame that the youth we lost can never return. Their youth is the very essence of my half-lived life. My soul wandered the heavens, my heart in agony. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day the matchmaker came to my door. The young Rex Zhuang wore a stern expression. As you wished, you brought your dowry to support my studies and care for my mother. I'm marrying you. That's settled then. Juno, once you're married, you must serve your mother-in-law well and take good care of Rex Zhuang. After all, Rex Zhuang is the only high school graduate in our village, and he'll surely be the only college graduate too. Comrade Juno Lee, you bear a heavy responsibility on your shoulders. The matchmaker beamed with joy, tightly clasping my hand and Rex Zhuang's together. In that overlapping moment, his resistance felt so real. But wasn't I supposed to be dead? Looking around in panic, the glass window not only reflected the faces of curious neighbors crowding around but also showed a youthful face. It was my 19-year-old self. I had actually returned to the day I got engaged to Rex Zhuang. You're not well educated, we're not on the same level and don't share common topics, by all accounts. You're not a match for me. Letting you in is only because you seem honest enough. I usually have to go to the county for classes, so after we get married, you'll stay home and take care of my mother. My mother has given me all her grain ration tickets, so your food rations should be prioritized for her first. The faces of Rex Zhuang from past and present overlapped, his harsh words still ringing in my ears. I pulled my hand back as if shocked by electricity. Who said I'd marry you? The matchmaker was startled by my sudden withdrawal and scolded me in a reproachful tone. Oh dear, the bride is getting shy now. The villagers filling the house and courtyard burst into laughter, all teasing me at once. You've been running to the Zhuang family's place every day, and now that you're about to marry into their family, why are you suddenly shy? Exactly. This is a new era. No one will laugh at you for having a free love relationship. You've managed to snag the only educated person in our village. Juno, you're so lucky. In my previous life, I slipped and fell into the water and was saved by Rex Zhuang. Deeply grateful, I did everything I could to repay him. I gave packs of state-owned store pastries, which I couldn't bear to eat myself, to Rex Zhuang's mother, and used the fabric ration coupons I received to make new clothes for Rex Zhuang. While I wore patched-up coarse cloth, Rex Zhuang's mother saw that I was hardworking, had a good temper, and was an orphan who came with a dowry. I want to marry Rex Zhuang with my whole being. Good child, my Rex Zhuang caught a fever from the cold while saving you. He even missed several days of classes. Besides, everyone knows you were saved by my Rex Zhuang mouth-to-mouth. If you don't marry Rex, no one else will marry you. If you stay at home as an old maid, even your parents in the afterlife wouldn't rest in peace. With a mix of coaxing and intimidation, I was trapped in the Zhuang family before I even understood what marriage was. After 40 years of hard work, all I got in return was betrayal and being played. Since fate has given me another chance, I will never repeat the same mistakes. My mom said you should pack your things and come with me today. I have to go to school and don't have time for a wedding banquet. Just like in the previous life, Rex Zhuang showed no patience, calling on the villagers to help move the dowry. During my parents' lifetime, they worked diligently and left behind a considerable family fortune. Later, with the help of my dowry, Rex Zhuang, who came from a poor family, was able to finish high school, attend university, and after graduating, was arranged to work in a government agency, where he rose steadily through the ranks. Everyone enthusiastically helped carry the belongings, and in my previous life, I entered the Zhuang family in a muddled state. There was no wedding ceremony, not even a single celebratory character. I had originally thought Rex Zhuang was just a man who didn't understand romance, but the month after I died, he held a grand wedding to marry Sun Yuling in a lavish ceremony. personally designing every detail of the event and even shedding tears multiple times on the spot. In the past, marriage was just about getting by with someone, and it felt the same no matter who it was, like eating without tasting the food. It wasn't until I married Yuling today that I understood what it means to have happiness. Even if it comes late, I will never delay his happiness again in this lifetime. Seeing that everyone was about to move the things, I quickly spoke up to stop them. Stop, put everything down. Everyone looked at me with confusion, and Rex Zhuang grew even more impatient. Enough, Juno Lee, you just want to bring out everything one by one to show off how much dowry you have, don't you? We're all working class people, you're just living off your parents' hard-earned money. What is there to show off about? As if I married you because of your dowry. Let me tell you, if it weren't for you and my mother pestering me relentlessly, I would never have married an illiterate like you. Rex Zhuang's brand new military green trousers, with his hands in the pockets, were made from expensive fabric I bought, and I spent the whole night sewing them under the lamp, in my past life. It was the same, using my things and still cursing me. If there's any improvement in this second chance at life, it's that I have 40 more years of experience being fooled, and I'm no longer the timid Juno Lee from my past life. Watching Rex Zhuang's raised chin, I also lifted my head and crossed my arms. You won't marry me, then I won't marry you either. As my words fell, everyone froze in place. After all, in my previous life, I did spend every day running to the Zhuang family's house. And with Mrs. Zhuang's exaggerated gossip, everyone in the village knew that I was persistently pestering and clinging to Rex Zhuang. Too, suitors flocked to my sisters of the same age, but I was left alone because I was spoken for. Now, I pressed down the raised chair. Clear my throat, Comrade Rex Zhuang. The reason I went to your house to help before was because I was grateful that you saved me. Later, your mother said your family was so poor that you couldn't afford tuition, and asked me to bring my dowry to support your education. I reluctantly agreed, also to repay the kindness. But since you think I'm not good enough for you and look down on my dowry, it's just as well. I won't be reaching for your high branch, from now on. We'll each go our separate ways, like two parallel roads under the sky, with clear water not intruding on river water. Peace and quiet for both. My voice rang out clear and bright, and ignoring Rex Zhuang's darkening expression, I cupped my hands in salute to everyone. Sorry to have troubled you all, folks. Today's efforts have been in vain for nothing. I, Juno Lee, can't bear to see this. I'll go buy some meat and stew it right now. Everyone come over tonight to eat. And let's just consider it, celebrating my new beginning. If there are hard-working and self-reliant male comrades who don't rely on others, please keep me in mind, aunties and grannies tilde. I deliberately emphasized the words don't rely on others and glared at Rex Zhuang. I was originally a carefree person by nature. It was only after being repeatedly undermined by Rex Zhuang in my past life that I became timid and insecure, but now I am determined to break free from the swamp. And Rex Zhuang will never get to spout nonsense in front of me again in this lifetime. Just as everyone was still waiting to see what Rex Zhuang meant, I had already swiftly kicked him out the door. What I didn't expect was that Rex Zhuang suddenly flew into a rage. Juno Lee, what kind of trick are you playing? How could you possibly not want to marry me? I pouted and looked at him. What makes you so special? You're as skinny as a chick, at this point. Rex Zhuang hadn't yet risen to a high position. He was just a frail scholar relying on others for support. Amid the laughter, Rex Zhuang's face flushed red. Juno Lee, who do you think you're pretending to be so noble? You even gave up your kidney for me. The words stopped abruptly at that point. But I was startled inside. In my previous life, when Rex Zhuang was diagnosed with kidney disease, kidney transplant technology was still immature. But I didn't hesitate to donate my kidney to him after the match was successful. After the surgery, I neglected my own health to take care of Rex Zhuang day and night in his sickbed. Because of a missing kidney and constant hard work, he has developed a chronic illness from exhaustion. How does he know about this now? Seeing the sudden evasive look in his eyes, a bold guess surged in my heart. Rex Zhuang has also been reborn. This made me clench my fists uncontrollably. He still wants to drag me into the mud. What are you talking about? I pretended not to hear clearly. Did you talk big and now want to go back on your word? Are you going to marry me again? Rex Zhuang stared at me, his arrogant expression returning. So that's the trick you're playing. Advancing by retreating. You're desperate to marry me but don't want to be seen as throwing yourself at me. So you use this method to provoke me. How did you even come up with that, Juno Lee? I can tell you right now, there's no way I'll ever lower my head. If you want to marry me, you'd better give in early. Otherwise, once I step out of this door, even if you kneel and kowtow to me, Rex Zhuang didn't finish his sentence before I chased him out of the yard with a broom. Where did this filth come from? What bad luck. As he left, Rex Zhuang gritted his teeth in anger. Fine, Juno Lee, you brought this on yourself. Just wait until I rise to greatness with a beauty by my side. You'll be so full of regret you won't even know how to cry. That evening, I hosted a banquet at home with 8 tables to properly thank the folks from the village. My parents passed away early and didn't leave me any siblings, so I've always relied on the villagers for help with big and small matters. During the feast, a close friend advised me, Juno, even though Rex has a bit of a temper, he's one of the few promising young men in our area. Who knows, he might even get into university and make something of himself someday. Don't let a moment of anger lead you down the wrong path. You've made your point and vented your frustration. If it doesn't work out, we'll go with you later to apologize to Auntie Zhuang. I've heard there's a promising female student at Rex Zhuang's school. In my past life, it was the same. I devoted half my life to the Zhuang family, yet in the end, everyone said I was just lucky to have chosen the right person. The wine in my mouth tasted a bit more bitter. I'd rather stay single for the rest of my life than marry Rex Zhuang. I swallowed a mouthful of wine. This life, I will live for myself. Just as the gathering was in full swing, the door was forcefully pushed open. A girl with no father or mother has no manners. I haven't even arrived, and the banquet has already started. Madame Zhuang pushed the door open and entered, putting on airs just as she had in her previous life. The moment she stepped in, she stole the spotlight, greeting everyone and making small talk. Today is a joyous occasion for our Zhuang family. Everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. If there's not enough food and wine, just call for more. 3. Our Zhuang family, a scholarly household, values etiquette the most. It's my incompetence that brought an ill-mannered daughter-in-law into the family. I've made a fool of myself in front of everyone. Zhuang's father was originally the village accountant. He died drunk in the granary, but Zhuang's mother claimed it was a sacrifice. A mouth that has always twisted black and white, now calling out to me at the top of his voice, Juno, I gave you money to entertain everyone. How come you started eating greedily by yourself without calling me when the feast was ready? Once you enter our Zhuang family, you're no longer a child. Being this gluttonous will make people laugh at you, whispering sweet nothings in my ear again. I used to think you were a sensible girl. How did you learn to act so foolishly? Considering it's your first offense, I won't hold it against you. Later, come back with me to apologize to Rex, kneel and serve tea, and I'll still consider you my Zhuang family's daughter-in-law. Otherwise, be careful, I'll make sure you never get married in this lifetime. Seeing me not moving, she slapped me hard on the back. Are you deaf when your elders are speaking? Hurry up and stand. How can the bride sit before the guests have finished eating? As she spoke, she snatched the wine glass from my hand. My son is studying to become a high-ranking official in the future. Alcohol ruins the mind. He can't drink. I'll represent the Zhuang family and drink a toast with everyone. My apologies for the poor hospitality. My apologies for the poor hospitality. This act left everyone stunned. So it turns out Aunt Zhuang provided the money and Juno provided the effort. Why didn't the child say so earlier? After the scene this morning, I really thought Juno wasn't going to get married. Turns out she just wanted to make herself look good. Juno, that's not right of you. Hurry up and give your mother-in-law a seat. In my previous life, I married into the Zhuang family, although no wedding banquet was held. Zhuang's mother went around collecting gift money from others. The next day, Rex Zhuang returned to the county town early for school. I was left alone to handle everything, using my own dowry to prepare a feast as a gesture of gratitude. When the meal was served, Zhuang's mother took all the credit with just a few words. The men received cigarettes, while the women and children had their pockets filled with melon seeds and candies. The entire village praised Rex Zhuang's generosity. I hosted the banquet to uphold the Zhuang family's reputation, yet Zhuang's mother, distressed over the expenses, blamed me for taking matters into my own hands and spending money recklessly. Once again, under the pretext of collecting gift money, they wouldn't let me eat and made me kneel at the door. Kowtowing to people coming in and out, a man's pride is worth more than gold, but it's a wife's duty to kowtow on behalf of her husband. Listening to the mother-in-law and respecting the husband as the head of the family is the rule of our village. The next day, my knees were swollen like 2 brown sugar buns, yet I still had to work in the fields and manage the household chores. And all my dowry was also taken by Zhuang's mother under the pretext of safekeeping. Even when I was pregnant and wanted to eat an egg, she would scold me for being greedy. Old grievances and new grudges. What made me wish I could tear her to pieces the most was that in my past life, she caused the death of my child. In her middle age, Zhuang's mother was particularly fierce-tempered and had a volatile disposition. In the 5th year of my marriage to Rex Zhuang, she suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and remained bedridden for over 30 years. Later, Rex Zhuang rose rapidly in his career and several times thought I was useless and wanted to divorce me, but it was Mrs. Zhuang who insisted on keeping me. I was the one who let Juno into this family. You were busy with work, and all these years it was Juno who kept me company. As long as I live, don't even think about making Juno leave this house. At that time, I thought Mrs. Zhuang was tough on the outside but soft on the inside. For over 30 years, I took care of her, tending to all her needs until her final days, but on her deathbed, she sent me away and held Rex Zhuang and son Yuling's hands. Mother is sorry for you, insisting back then that Rex marry Juno Li, but mother had no other choice. If it weren't for Juno Li's dowry, how could we have afforded to send you both to university? Later, it was also mother's failing. Paralyzed in bed, mother couldn't bear to see you suffer. So I let Juno Li hold the position of the Zhuang family's daughter-in-law for 40 years, for the sake of my mother swapping my own grandson with that girl Juno Li gave birth to. Please forgive her. Returning with the chicken soup, I saw with my own eyes Zhuang's mother pulling the son I had raised and telling him to call son Yuling Mom. It was then that I realized the child I had given birth to, who was taken away by Zhuang's mother, should have been a daughter. Poor my daughter, who had just been in this world for 1 day, was thrown by her own grandmother into the back mountains to be fed to the wolves. I rushed in to confront Mrs. Zhuang, but she had already taken her last breath. I wanted to call the police, but Rex Zhuang slapped me across the face. Juno Li, you killed my mother and now you're playing the victim. Already weak and overwhelmed with rage, I collapsed to the ground and never got up again. When enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. Mother Zhuang still wants to act like a mother-in-law in front of me. I snatched the wine glass back and threw it to the ground. Auntie Zhuang, are you so poor you have no rice to cook? And you're so hungry you've come here to talk nonsense? Now, I am no longer her Zhuang family's daughter-in-law, Aunt Zhuang, who doesn't know you're a devoted mother. You even gave your own grain ration tickets to Rex Zhuang. Where are you going to get more grain ration tickets to prepare a banquet now? After I reminded them, the villagers suddenly realized that Aunt Zhuang, craving a good reputation, had been telling everyone in person how hard it was for her, a widow, to raise her child. What does it matter if an old woman like me eats or not? But my son, the nation's Rex, must not go hungry. I exposed Zhuang's mother's lie and sneered, if you're hungry and craving a bite, just tell me. No one will laugh at you for wanting a share of the meat, for this was the first time I confronted Zhuang's mother. She was taken aback and instinctively raised her hand to hit me. But then, noticing the onlookers, she rolled her eyes, let out a wail, and sat on the ground. What kind of fate is this? A new daughter-in-law scolding her mother-in-law right after entering the family? Fellow villagers, please judge for me. My son risked his life to save an ungrateful wretch. At my age, being scolded by a young girl, I have no face left to live. As she spoke, she suddenly butted her head into my abdomen, making my insides churn violently. In my previous life, Mother Zhuang was bedridden with paralysis. And if the water wasn't the right temperature or if anything displeased her, she would splash it all over me. But now, I'm not going to indulge her anymore. A sharp knee strike slammed into Mother Zhuang's nose, and she immediately let go of me, clutching her bleeding nose and howling in pain. Rex Zhuang, who had just entered the door, happened to witness this scene and came over, slapping me to the ground. You ill-bred thing. How dare you hit your mother-in-law? Beware of divine retribution. I spat a mouthful of blood on his face. Rex Zhuang, stop dreaming your foolish dreams. I would rather never marry in my entire life than marry you. You're ruining my reputation. I'll definitely sue you for harassment. Mrs. Zhuang wiped the blood from her nose, her eyes filled with malice. Fine, Juno Lee. You asked for this, you don't know what's good for you. Today, I'll let everyone know what kind of a loose woman you are, fellow villagers. I used to spare Juno Lee's dignity and didn't tell the truth. Actually, on the day my son saved Juno Lee, she had just been fooling around with a wild man in the open field. She was so weak in the legs from being done that she slipped into the river. Juno Lee is nothing but a filthy slut and a worn-out shoe. Like a sudden clap of thunder from a clear sky. The buzz of discussion instantly overwhelmed me. No matter the era, chastity has always been a deadly weapon to attack women. It takes only a mouth to spread rumors, yet I cannot prove my innocence. In this life and the last, the Zhuang mother and son have sought to destroy me. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and stared into Rex Zhuang's eyes. Rex Zhuang, heaven and earth bear witness to my conscience. What exactly happened when I fell into the water? Do you dare to tell everyone the truth? The sisters also chimed in with various comments. Rex, is what your mother said true? For a woman, this is a matter of life and death. Don't let a moment of anger ruin Juno's entire life. Rex Zhuang looked guilty for a moment under my stare, but he gritted his teeth and said, Juno Lee, this is what you deserve. But if you truly repent, I'm willing to go the extra mile and take you in, you ruined woman. People see in his expression a sense of responsibility, mixed with sympathy and admiration. Mother Zhuang curled her lips in disdain. Everyone, eat your fill, help us carry the dowry, and please, in the future, help me keep an eye on that promiscuous scoundrel Juno Lee, so she doesn't go around flirting with others while my son is away. Rex Zhuang came over and grabbed my wrist. Juno Lee, I'm willing to give you another chance to turn over a new leaf. At that moment, the faint sound of wheels rolling over the ground broke the silence. A beam of car headlights illuminated my small courtyard. But you're out of chances. A military green truck stopped in front of my house, and a few agile female soldiers jumped out. The one who got out of the passenger seat was Erguzi, a 13-year-old from the same village. Juno, sis, I didn't hold you up, did I? I handed him a big handful of candy and gave him a thumbs up. Divine soldiers descending from the heavens. I let out a cold laugh, and soon, those female soldiers recognized me. Comrade, it's so great to see you're all right. The villagers were puzzled, but Rex Zhuang turned pale and muttered to himself, 5, no, it can't be, how could she know? He hurried over, trying to pull me aside. Juno, I agree to marry you. I'm willing to marry you, let's get married right now. Before I could say anything, a female soldier had already pushed him away. Comrade, how dare you lay hands on a female comrade? It's you, didn't we hand over the person we saved that day to you? Amid the sisters' confusion, I told the truth. The one who saved me was never Rex Zhuang, but a group of female soldiers passing by, and this truth was only known to me after my death, when preparing the food and drinks. I relied on my past life memories and had her go deliver a letter for me. The letter explained my situation, hoping they could come to help me clarify the truth. The military camp was in the town, and the female soldiers set out immediately after receiving the message, arriving just in time. That day we were on a mission and happened to save Comrade Juno Lee, but we couldn't delay due to our task. Coincidentally, this male comrade passed by and said he was from the same village as Comrade Juno Lee, so we handed her over to him. Another wave of uproar followed, so it was the female soldier comrades who saved Juno. Rex Zhuang, how could you say it was you who saved her? Rex Zhuang stammered, and Mrs. Zhuang quickly stepped in front of the crowd. Even if these girls pulled her out of the water, without my Rex giving mouth-to-mouth, Juno Lee would still have suffocated. You all saw with your own eyes that my son saved Juno. The villagers grew doubtful again. For when they heard Rex Zhuang calling for help and rushed over, they had indeed seen Rex Zhuang rescuing her. A female soldier frowned in confusion. That's not right. We already helped Comrade Juno expel the water by pressing when we handed her over. There was no need for artificial respiration at all. Mother Zhuang glanced at them. What do you bunch of girls know? My son is a college student. The female soldiers immediately showed their identification. We may not be college students, but we are medics. We've fought for lives on the battlefield. How could we not recognize a drowning situation? I stared at Rex Zhuang, who dared not lift his head. Rex Zhuang, it was clearly the female soldier who saved me. Yet you lied and claimed to be my savior. You even took the opportunity to take advantage of me, ruining my reputation in front of everyone. You used the favor to pressure me into marrying you. What are your true intentions, Mrs. Zhuang quickly shielded Rex Zhuang behind her, craning her neck as if to speak, but was interrupted by a female soldier. I knew I wasn't mistaken, it was her who pushed him. The female soldier grabbed Zhuang's mother by the wrist. That day on the bus, I saw Comrade Juno Lee being pushed into the river. It was you, that day. You were wearing this exact piece of clothing. Now it was Zhuang's mother's turn to be afraid. She covered her face and shrank back into the crowd. It wasn't me. You're talking nonsense. You're slandering a good person. I'm going to find your supervisor. She thought the female soldiers would be afraid, but to her surprise, they agreed without hesitation. Fine, let's go. We'll go with you to the police station and get this straightened out. At that moment, some of the villagers also stepped forward. On the day Juno fell into the water, I did see Sister Zhuang nearby. It really is this piece of clothing. I remember it too. When Rex Zhuang called people over, Aunt Zhuang was wearing this exact piece of clothing. If the female soldier comrade hadn't seen it with her own eyes, how could she be so sure it was this piece of clothing? Everything is clear now. My falling into the water was a trap set by the Zhuang mother and son from the very beginning, all to make me owe them a life-saving favor. I slapped Rex Zhuang hard across the face. Take that, you shameless scoundrel. The enraged sisters all rushed forward, while Mother Zhuang shielded Rex Zhuang as they fled in panic, not forgetting to hurl harsh words. You ungrateful wretch. Letting you into this family was the fortune of several lifetimes. When my son soars to greatness, you'll regret it to the core. Without my tuition money this lifetime, I'd like to see how Rex Zhuang is going to soar. Early the next morning, I packed my luggage and arrived at the village entrance. In my previous life, I wasted my entire life on the Zhuang family and was even scolded for being a freeloader, although I never had much education. I had always been finding ways to support myself before I drowned. In my past life, all my dowry was used to support Rex Zhuang, but now I plan to use it to open a small shop. Yesterday, the female soldiers heard about my idea and praised me for being bold and decisive. They even promised to ask their leader if they could pick me up on their way to the county today. While waiting for the bus, I had the misfortune of running into Zhuang and his mother again, along with Sun Yuling, who was sitting on the back of Rex Zhuang's bicycle. Each of the three looked at me with their own hidden agendas. 6. Zhuang's mother, who had somehow managed to borrow the tuition money, deliberately took it out of her bag in front of me and then stuffed it back in. Some people, they think we can't make a dish without them. Look, wherever my son Rex goes, he always has noble people to help him. An uncultured rotten egg like you still dares to aim high for my son. Why don't you take a piss and look in the mirror, see if you're even worthy? Now you regret it and come carrying your luggage to offer it. It's too late. Sun Yuling, sitting behind the car seat, deliberately wrapped her arms around Rex Zhuang's waist, leaned forward to look at me, just as in the previous life, with a proud and arrogant demeanor. You're Juno Lee, the one who grew up in the dirt. Juno, your parents must be illiterate, otherwise how could they give you such a name? Tilda. Just like in the previous life, on the second day of marrying Rex Zhuang, Sun Yuling came to his door to take him to school. When Sun Yuling saw me, it was as if a young lady from the old society was looking at a servant girl. So you're Juno Lee, the one who's been pestering and clinging to A Zhuang. Your cheeks have that Highland flush. Tilda, didn't Rex Zhuang get you a snow cream when he bought one for me? She was dressed in the most fashionable dacron, her dark braid glossy and sleek, while I still had the grime from cooking early in the morning on my clothes, my head wrapped in the blue scarf Zhuang's mother had given me. Like an ugly duckling seeing a swan for the first time, her voice unconsciously softened. Of course I knew about snow cream. Rex Zhuang said his hands were chapped from the cold in the classroom during winter, so I walked 40 miles to bring him the snow cream. Before I could speak, Rex Zhuang interrupted as he came out. What do you have to talk to her, a housewife, about? What could she possibly understand, playing the lute to a cow? Get on the bike. Sun Yuling nimbly hopped onto the back seat of the bicycle, while the lunchbox I had carefully prepared before dawn was shoved into her hands by Rex Zhuang. There's fried eggs with sugar, your favorite. They were so open and unashamed that my anger seemed petty and narrow-minded. For the next 40 years, they used the excuse of being old classmates and close friends to trample on my dignity time and time again. I was just about to retort when a group of village sisters chattered and swarmed in behind me, each carrying their luggage, all stirred by my encouragement the day before to venture into the city with me. Everyone heard Sun Yuling's words and each one stood up for me. You may have read books. Too bad the knowledge went straight to the dogs. Didn't your parents teach you how to speak like a human? Oh my, look how tightly she's holding that man's waist. Don't worry, people don't fight with dogs over shit to eat. Sun Yuling's face flushed red with anger. You're so rude. You're just jealous of Rex and me having a bright future, unlike you, who are only fit to dig in the dirt for a living your whole lives. I cut her off directly. The chairman taught us that revolutionary work has no hierarchy. The laboring people are the most honorable. Do you have a problem with the chairman's words? Sun Yuling was left trembling with anger by my retort. You're the one who got dumped by Rex. You just can't accept it. You're so young. Yet all you think about is love. How can the country prosper with people like you? Hearing this, the sisters started chattering all at once. How dare you try to shift the blame onto others? My cousin works at the department store counter. She saw you two holding hands while shopping with her own eyes. My second uncle went to the county high school to show an open-air movie and also saw you two, hiding in a corner whispering to each other. Oh my, I'm too embarrassed to even say it. Back then, Aunt Zhuang was going around the village saying that Juno was her Zhuang family's daughter-in-law. So what does that make you? Interfering in someone else's relationship? You should be ashamed. Sun Yuling anxiously tugged at Rex Zhuang. Rex, say something. Meanwhile, Rex Zhuang propped up his bike and came over to pull me aside. Juno, you've lived a lifetime too, haven't you? His eyes were eager, waiting for an affirmative answer. Unless I have lived a lifetime, how could Juno Lee, who was once toyed with by him, suddenly seem like a completely different person? I stared into those anxious eyes, a smirk curling at the corner of my mouth. Rex Zhuang, you must be starving. What do you mean, lived a lifetime? What nonsense are you talking? We have no relationship now. Keep your hands to yourself. I shook off Rex Zhuang's wrist. My miserable past life was Rex Zhuang's masterpiece, and I will never let him look at me with that same pride in this life. I want him to know that the 19-year-old Juno Lee despises him. Rex Zhuang. From the bottom of her heart, Rex Zhuang looked hurt upon getting the answer, but he soon let out a cold snort. Fine then, Juno Lee, you deserve to never have the fortune of being an official's wife in this lifetime. From now on, I'll walk my broad, bright road, and you can cross your single-plank bridge. 7. We owe each other nothing. Juno Lee, remember that I will only get better and better. He firmly believes that with the experience from his past life, he is destined for even greater success in this one. But how can they be even, with no debts between them? He hasn't repaid the debts from his past life yet. Rex Zhuang was about to ride away with Sun Yuling on the bike, and I firmly held onto the handlebars. Juno Lee, even if you regret it now, I can't possibly. I interrupted his shameless remark. Give me back the bike. I bought this bicycle for Rex Zhuang before. And not just the bike. I want to take back everything that belongs to me. Return what? There's nothing to return. Zhuang's mother immediately pushed me. Those things were what you insisted on giving to my Rex back then. After giving something away, you want it back. Have you no shame? I yanked the car over with force. And Sun Yuling, who was in the back seat, was thrown out. You all took my things without feeling any shame. How is it shameful for me to take back what's mine? Sisters, come with me to the Zhuang family. Let's take back what's ours and build up the capital to open our shop. After saying that, I pushed Rex Zhuang aside and was the first to mount the bicycle, crashing through the Zhuang family's door. The other sisters were busy moving the sewing machine, grabbing towels and soap. And some went to the kitchen to take rice, flour, and sesame oil. Seeing her home being looted, Mrs. Zhuang let out a shriek and hurriedly tried to stop them. But in the scuffle, she ended up getting scratched all over her face by one of the sisters-in-law. It was you who instigated my mother-in-law to pick on me last time, wasn't it? You old fool, you talk too much. Sun Yuling was already terrified, her face pale, hiding behind Rex Zhuang and trembling uncontrollably. At first, Rex Zhuang tried to say that a real man doesn't fight with women, but after being scolded as a heartless scoundrel and beaten a few times by the sisters, He scrambled away to call the village chief. Village chief, these women are trying to cut off our village's path to prosperity. Smashing my home is like smashing the future of society. Zhuang's mother, covering her face and wailing, cried until her face was covered in tears and snot, then pointed at me and spat. This wretched little slut, just because my son didn't want her, she held a grudge and brought people to kill an old woman like me. My death doesn't matter. But my son is a future college student. You're going to be a high-ranking official in the future. Village chief, you must stand up for us. Rex Zhuang glared at me with gritted teeth. Juno Li, you law-ignorant fool, stealing things will land you in jail. Don't you know that? And all of you, you'll all be locked up with her. Rex Zhuang was beaming with pride. Juno Li, I have no more affection for you. Today, you either kneel and apologize to us, or you'll be waiting to go to jail. But I wasn't as timid as he had expected. It's only natural to repay debts. I'm taking my own things. Mother Zhuang spat and stamped her foot. Nonsense. You say it's yours, so it's yours. What evidence do you have? If it's in my house, it's mine. Meanwhile, Sun Yuling also regained her confidence. Raising her voice shrilly, no one is above the law. We'll report this to the police right now. Juno Li, it'll be too late to claim ignorance of the law and act like a shrew by then. The village chief, a cigarette tucked behind his ear, also frowned at me. Juno, can you prove that these things are yours? If you can't prove it, causing trouble with a crowd is indeed against the law, I said coldly. When I pulled out a stack of IOUs from my pocket, Rex Zhuang's face turned ashen. I knew you didn't throw them away, Juno Li. You got close to me just to take advantage of my future success. You've finally shown your true colors, Rex Zhuang. In order to save face in front of me, would always hand me an IOU after subtly hinting at wanting something from me. Not everyone is worthy of receiving an IOU from the Zhuang family. Once I make it big in the future, these IOUs will be worth double and could buy your entire lifetime. Every time I took the IOU, I would casually discard it immediately to protect Rex Zhuang's pride. What's all this talk about owing or not owing? Afterwards, I quietly retrieved them. Not for the sake of any future prospects, but because in my past life, I foolishly thought buy me for a lifetime was a rare romantic line. These IOUs were treasured like love letters and kept in a drawer at home. Now, looking at the IOU he had written with his own hands, Rex Zhuang had no choice but to accept it, no matter how furious he was. Of course, Mother Zhuang still wanted to make a scene, but I said, even an intellectual would renege on a debt, that successfully shut her up. The commotion of my sisters helping me move my things startled the entire village, with onlookers forming 3 circles inside and 3 circles outside, watching us clear out the place like a flowing stream. Many clicked their tongues in amazement. Did Juno furnish all of Zhuang's things? Meanwhile, Sun Yuling, standing to the side, looked puzzled and tugged at Rex Zhuang's arm. Rex, what on earth is going on here? Didn't you say your family had a rich ancestral fortune? In her previous life, it wasn't until Zhuang's mother passed away that Sun Yuling learned the Zhuang family had been relying on her dowry all along. But by then, Rex Zhuang had already achieved success and fame, and the two of them no longer faced any survival pressures. But now, looking at the Zhuang family's destitute home, Sun Yuling clearly couldn't accept it. No matter how Rex Zhuang explained that he would definitely get into college and become a high-ranking official in the future, Sun Yuling still refused to believe him. As the two were pulling and tugging at each other, the voices of several men broke the situation. Yuling, didn't you say the Zhuang family was wealthy, poor to this extent? How can they still get money for your brother to marry a wife? Sun Yuling saw the visitor's face instantly turn pale. Dad, what are you doing here? While moving things earlier, I had already asked a friend to go to the neighboring village to inform Sun Yuling's father. Sun Yuling, who usually carried herself like a swan in front of others, was slapped across the face by her father. Worthless girl, all day long, you just doll yourself up, talking about how many promising men there are in high school. In the end, you end up tangled up with some penniless loser. I'll beat you to death. You good for nothing. Sun Yuling was dragged out by her father, who was pulling her hair. Rex Zhuang tried to intervene but was immediately knocked to the ground with a few punches from the men from the neighboring village. Not a single penny, and you still want to marry a wife, and you call yourself educated. Pa, Rex Zhuang's face was bruised and swollen, as he looked at the house. now stripped back to its bare walls. His eyes were bloodshot, and he glared at me with pure hatred. Juno Lee, you blind, foolish woman, one day, I'll make you kneel and beg me. I just looked at him coldly, pointing at Rex Zhuang's brand new army green pants. Take off the pants. I bought the fabric and made these pants with my own hands. Even if I have to take them back to cut, burn, or throw them away, I will never leave them for a beast. Rex Zhuang's face turned red as if it was smoking. Whether from anger or shame, Juno Lee, you're asking a strange man to take off his clothes in broad daylight, utterly shameless. Your mind is filled with nothing but lust and depravity. A female hooligan like you should be arrested and shot. He probably forgot his own behavior in his past life when he said that the love between a man and a woman is meant to be enduring. But in my past life, every time I tried to get close to Rex Zhuang, I would be scolded and pointed at. Do you know how difficult it is for the country to cultivate a college student? Do you know how precious my experience is? My energy should be devoted to the construction of our motherland, not wasted on the likes of you, a housewife with no ambition. He scolded me with such righteous indignation, as if I were an ugly rat exposed in broad daylight, and right in front of my remains. 60-year-old Rex Zhuang was toiling away on Li Lingyu, sweating profusely. One moment he was nibbling at her peaks and calling her sweetheart. The next she was arching her neck and calling him brother. The constantly changing positions and repeated shudders were still vivid before my eyes, nauseating to behold. Looking at the shameless man before me, I suppressed my disgust and let out a cold laugh. Stop talking about execution at every turn. Is the police department your family's business? You said all your classmates had army green pants, and you didn't even feel ashamed when you asked me to make one for you. Is it thuggish to ask for my own things back? I spoke loudly, making sure every villager present could hear me clearly. Rex Zhuang, you look down on me on one hand, yet you still want to take advantage of me. It's people like you, who bite the hand that feeds them, that are truly shameless. After the previous few confrontations, Rex Zhuang's reputation in the village had already plummeted. At this moment, everyone gathered around to watch the spectacle, continuously mocking him. Rex Zhuang. So it was you who reached out to ask for things from others, and you usually call yourself an intellectual, so intellectuals go around asking girls for green military pants. Amid the crowd's roaring laughter, Rex Zhuang's face turned as red as a pig's liver. He actually took off his pants and shoes in a couple of moves, revealing the red and green patched long underwear underneath. 9. Rex Zhuang threw the pants along with the rubber shoes at me fiercely, stubbornly saying, "Who would want your worn-out shoes? Juno Lee, let me tell you, you're just the bare minimum in my choice of a partner. While I'm destined to be the mountain you can hardly match." I didn't bother with his hysterical shouting, just snorted a laugh and walked away. I opened a small shop near the county high school, transporting southern goods to the north. On the opening day, Zhuang's mother came to cause trouble, calling me a parasite of socialism. But the police officer told her, "Auntie, the country has reformed and opened up now. It encourages private business. If you cause trouble here, we'll have to take you away." Mother Zhuang left in a huff, swaying her hips indignantly. Such a restless thing, flaunting yourself on the streets. Let's see which man would dare take you. By then, even if you cry and beg to cling to my son, it won't be possible. Just wait until my son gets into college. While Zhuang's mother was still dreaming, a police car roared up to the school. And out stepped son's father, who started shouting at the top of his lungs as soon as he got out of the car, "You got my daughter pregnant, Rex Zhuang. I'm going to catch you, you scoundrel." Today, in the previous life, it was also at this time that Sun Yuzhen became pregnant. During that time, Rex Zhuang frequently came home to be intimate with me, using my money to silence the Sun family and prevent the matter from escalating. Without the money this time, the Sun family certainly won't let it go easily. I smiled at Zhuang's mother. "Oh, looks like your son might have to take his college entrance exams in prison." While my sisters and I were each cracking sunflower seeds, Rex Zhuang was escorted into the car with his hands pinned behind his back, followed by his wailing mother. It was that wretched Sun Yuling who seduced my son. My son was supposed to go to college. Sun's father kicked Zhuang's mother twice in the head. "You old whore, shut up." Aunt Zhuang lay on the ground, clutching her head, looking in my direction with a pained expression. "Juno, I'm dizzy. Good child. Come quickly and help your aunt up. It seems the cerebral hemorrhage from my past life has struck early this time. Hearing Mother Zhuang's plea for help, I felt nothing inside. Spitting out the sunflower seed shell from my lips, you all owe my daughter a life, and you will repay it. Unexpectedly, Rex Zhuang was released again and even married Sun Yuling. Because Sun Yuling's health condition made an abortion impossible, the Sun family didn't want 2 more mouths to feed at home, but the Sun family insisted on a bride price of $50, threatening to send Rex Zhuang to prison even if it meant beating Sun Yuzhen to death. Zhuang's mother lay paralyzed on the kang, soiled with waste, while Rex Zhuang desperately tried to borrow money, only to be cornered by debt collectors at his doorstep. It turned out that Zhuang's mother had mortgaged their house to save face and scrape together tuition for Rex Zhuang. Lending you money was because we believed you could get into college, but the news of you getting that girl pregnant at school has already spread. The school expelled you. If we don't take the house, we'll be stuck with a bad debt. Both the Zhong family and the creditors were breathing down his neck, and Rex Zhuang was so anxious that his mouth was covered in blisters. He even came to me to borrow money, but my shop was doing so well I had no time to deal with him. He just kept squatting at the door, waiting for me to close up the shop, watching me count the bills one by one. Rex Zhuang couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes. He wondered why he hadn't achieved this much in his previous life. But I always had it, it's just that the stinky stones were gone along the way. Juno, for the sake of our past friendship, just give me a hand. Look. You have so much money. I only need half of it, the money in my hand. Yang, I do have money, but why should I lend it to you? Rex Zhuang's breath reeked of foul odor, with not a trace of the scholar's elegance left, resembling a desperate gambler at the end of his rope. Listen, Juno. As long as you agree to lend me the money, I'll marry you. 10. You don't know, but I do. As long as I solve this urgent problem right now, I will definitely get into college. I'm going to walk a broad and smooth path in the future. I can swear to heaven. As he spoke, he actually knelt down in front of me, raising 3 fingers to the sky. A sudden clap of thunder rang out from the cloudless sky. Watching Rex Zhuang, who was so scared he almost wet his pants, I sneered coldly, see. Even the heavens can't stand the wrongs you've done. I patted his face with the money. Rex Zhuang, stop dreaming. There's no university. No high position. Only a pregnant woman and your bedridden mother. Rex Zhuang, this is your fate. As I spared him and walked away, the sound of Rex Zhuang's unwilling cries followed behind me. Rex Zhuang still ended up marrying Sun Yuling. Their house was repossessed by creditors, and he sold all the ancestral land that had been passed down through generations. The family of 3 ended up homeless, forced to live in a half-collapsed house in the village. Rex Zhuang couldn't bear the burden on his shoulders. At first, he couldn't swallow his pride, but as he watched his elderly mother on the verge of starvation, he was driven out by the desperate screams of Sun Yuzhen and forced to beg for food. As he approached my shop, Rex Zhuang's face showed the weariness of a life worn down by hardship. Accompanied by a somewhat ingratiating smile, he tried his best to straighten his soiled clothes. Boss Lee, I heard from the folks that you've opened a branch store. Look, I'm just sitting around with nothing to do anyway. I'm good at math and can handle the accounts. I'll manage your books. You can pay me whatever you think is fair, and that house you have in the village, it's just sitting empty with no one living there. I'll have my mother and my wife go take care of it for you. Otherwise, if you haven't been to school and can't figure it out, you wouldn't dare trust the accounts to just anyone. The sisters who ventured out into the world at the same time as me are now all glamorous and successful. Where did this stinky beggar come from? Get lost. Don't delay us from going to night school. I never gave Rex Zhuang a single glance the entire time I walked away. The next news about Rex Zhuang was that he had gone mad. The couple had a quarrel, and Rex Zhuang stabbed his wife to death with a knife, even pulling out the unborn child and chopping it into mincemeat. The old lady also had her throat slit. While slitting his own throat, he kept saying something about wanting to start over. Right, he also said something about starting over and marrying you, Juno. How did a perfectly fine person just go crazy? Watching the villagers smacking their lips, I shook my head with a light laugh. Today is the grand opening of my new shop. Everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. Let's not bring up such unlucky topics. Glasses clinked together with a jingling sound, and I wondered if Rex Zhuang would ever get a second chance. I only know that in this lifetime, I will live each day happily. After Jiang Yang's first love got into a car accident, he insisted on bringing her home to take care of her. I didn't make a fuss and readily agreed. He looked moved. There's nothing between us. I just want to ensure she has a worry-free life with someone to take care of her for the rest of her days. Please don't overthink it. I don't even dare to think about it. I just want to run away as soon as possible. You should know that in 7 days, I will die from overwork, and on the day of my funeral, he and his white moonlight got their marriage certificate. I'm about to die. At the moment of rebirth, this news completely occupied my rational mind. So when Jiang Yang got angry again and suggested bringing his white moonlight to live with us, I no longer resisted, agreed. Go pick her up quickly. In the face of life, everything else is trivial. 55 years old, what is there that one cannot see through? Now, I just want to survive. Jiang Yang was stunned. With a look of disbelief, after reacting, he spoke somewhat unnaturally and dryly. Xiao Mai is already disabled, and now I'm the only one she can rely on. There's no other way. I nodded perfunctorily. I rummaged through my bag and pulled out the medical insurance card. Let's go, you're coming with me. He widened his eyes as if he didn't recognize me. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. Just half an hour ago, I had been acting like a shrew, stubbornly refusing to back down, making a scene as if my life depended on it. I couldn't be bothered to argue and simply walked away, on the way to the hospital. Jiang Yang remained expressionless and silent the entire time. Through the rearview mirror, I could see him repeatedly rubbing his palms, and I knew he was very excited. It was that indescribable joy of having fought hard and finally seen a dream come true after 35 years of marriage. I know the meaning behind every small gesture of his. I smiled wryly to myself, drove the car into the hospital, and after getting out, headed straight for the emergency room. Jiang Yang grabbed my arm and said urgently, "We're going the wrong way. Xiao Mai is in the inpatient building." I sneered and shook him off. "You go pick her up yourself. I feel like I'm about to die and want to get checked for any health issues. I'm not that magnanimous to personally bring his beloved home. I only came to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup." Jiang Yang looked me up and down and scolded angrily. "You just fainted suddenly because you were emotionally overwhelmed. You woke up after only 2 minutes. There's nothing wrong with you. I thought you genuinely accepted Xiao Mai, but I didn't expect you to deliberately curse yourself to make me feel guilty." I shook my head. "You're overthinking it. Don't worry, I won't stop you. In my past life, I strongly opposed it. But it was ultimately futile. Now, having already died once, it's time to suppress my emotional impulses and make the most rational choice. In this life, I decided to let them have their way." I spent the whole day at the hospital, getting all kinds of scans. Finally, the doctor concluded, apart from slightly high blood pressure, "There's nothing wrong. At your age, you need to rest more." I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that it wasn't cancer. I'm afraid there might be some hidden illness in my body that could trigger other diseases. By the time I left the hospital and got home, it was already completely dark. As soon as I opened the door, I heard laughter inside. When they saw me, the laughter suddenly stopped. Daughter Jiang Lan stood up from the sofa, looking somewhat displeased. "Mom, where have you been? You knew Aunt Mai was coming to stay, but you didn't even tidy up the room." I took a deep breath, barely holding back the urge to slap her. After carrying her for 10 months and giving birth to this little comfort, she's now siding with another woman to criticize me. All that suffering was for nothing. See, I didn't say a word. Xiao Mai gave a bitter smile and wheeled the chair over. "Sister Ju, I've caused you trouble. I'll leave now." Jiang Yang's expression instantly changed, pointing at me. He yelled, "Xiao Mai is already at the end of her rope. Can't you have a little sympathy, forcing her to leave? Do you want her to die?" I look very pale. On our wedding anniversary, Jiang Yang and I had planned to go out for dinner, but he stood me up, just because Xiao Mai returned from abroad and wanted to see him, but unexpectedly. They encountered a car accident on the way, resulting in injuries that ultimately led to an amputation. Jiang Yang felt deeply guilty, believing that he was the cause of the tragedy. Because Xiao Mai had switched seats with him before getting in the car, a twist of fate ended up saving him. Jiang Yang began trying to persuade me, wanting to bring her into our home and have me take care of her. But why? He's not my savior. Why should I be her maid? I disagreed, and Jiang Yang gave me a cold shoulder. Today, another heated argument broke out over this matter, so much so that I fainted from anger. When I woke up again, I found that I had been reborn. Not only did I know what would happen 7 days later, but I was also fully aware of everything that occurred before my burial. Fine. I'll just leave then, having lived most of my life, only to have to make way for someone else in the end. How ridiculous. Walking into the bedroom, I wasn't surprised to see my clothes thrown on the floor. I quickly stuffed my things into the suitcase. As I stood up, the sight of the bright jasmine flowers and the brand new bed sheets by the bedside clawed at my heart like a cat's scratch. Jiang Yang always claims to have low emotional intelligence, saying he isn't that cunning and doesn't know how to be romantic, yet he remembers that Chiao Mai loves jasmine flowers the most. Some people aren't incapable, they just don't care. What are you throwing a tantrum about again? If you leave, who will take care of Chiao Mai? Jiang Yang pulled me back, not letting me leave. Mom, both Dad and I have to go to work, and you're the only one at home with nothing to do, just idling around every day. You can cook at home and keep Aunt Mai company while chatting. It's really easy. My daughter looked at me as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. In my previous life, I compromised. I took on the responsibility of caring for Chiao Mai, and it ended in a miserable death. Now, I just want to live an easier life. Since you love her so much, take care of her yourselves. Saying this, she took the divorce agreement out of her bag and threw it in Jiang Yang's face. Sign this, and you can take care of her all the way to the bed. No one will stop you two from being lovey-dovey. Jiang Yang's face instantly darkened. Suppressing his anger, he bent down to pick up the paper from the floor. At a glance, he was shocked. You're insane, not crazy, just want to survive. Sudden death was caused by their torment. Chiao Mai is already old, yet she's still acting coy and demanding, wanting this and that and more. She keeps complaining to you every day, openly and secretly, saying that I mistreat her and don't give her food to eat. Jiang Yang says I'm an ungrateful wretch. He said, if it weren't for Chiao Mai saving me, you might have become a widow. Can't you have a little conscience? I have no heart. Your conscience has been eaten by a dog, so, hurry up and get a divorce. Marriage is easy, but divorce is harder than the journey of the Tang monk to obtain the scriptures. The negotiation failed. I am not discouraged and will just stay at a hotel. Serving others is never an option. First, survive and live a long life. Waking up at noon, the hotel front desk called to say someone was looking for me. Unsurprisingly, it was the father and daughter duo. Jiang Yang was a technical backbone at the factory and was rehired after retirement, continuing to contribute to society. His daughter also had a job and was extremely busy every day. Usually, when I ask them to accompany me to the hospital, they always say they don't have time. They also say that even though I'm old, I should keep up with the times and learn from the younger generation, and not always bother others. But today, they both skipped work at the same time. What a miracle. My daughter saw how furious I was. Mom, at your age, you're still running away from home. Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you? Let them laugh. Who cares? After a lifetime of living by others' expectations, it's time to break free from the shackles of convention and live according to your own wishes. I sat leisurely and comfortably on the sofa, feeling quite relaxed. I felt a bit hungry, and just then, the server came in with the meal and arranged the dishes on the table. My daughter widened her eyes in disbelief and said, Mom, are you really willing to eat something this fancy? I ignored her and focused on devouring the food. Today, I ordered many delicious foods that I had wanted to try before but couldn't bring myself to spend money on, such as Australian lobster. In the past, whenever my father and I wanted something or craved a certain food, no matter how expensive it was, we would grit our teeth and buy it. But when it comes to myself, I always talk myself out of it, telling myself not to be greedy or indulgent. I always end up habitually shortchanging myself. They even took it for granted by the father and daughter. And looking back now, I really feel it wasn't worth it. Now that I've satisfied my appetite, my happiness index is soaring. From now on, I won't be frugal anymore. I'll spend money when it's necessary. Before, the money wasn't spent, but I ended up in the coffin, and I regretted it deeply. Ju Ying. It's just a small favor to take care of Chiao Mai. At our age, there's no need to make such a big fuss over it. Jiang Yang's implication was that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I sneered. Either get a divorce or send Chiao Mai away. Choose one. Still trying to control me. Dream on, you wishful thinker. Jiang Yang doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and doesn't engage in domestic violence. He is known as a good husband and a good father among the neighbors. But others don't know that he never does housework and acts like a lord every day. Every time I ask him to do something, I have to beg him repeatedly and use all kinds of nice words. Even if he does it, he drags his feet. He always mops with one hand, never wipes the water stains off the sink, and always stops just short of finishing the job. When I get so angry that I yell at him, rumors spread outside that I have a bad temper. He gets all the good reputation, while I'm left with all the bad name. I worked like a horse all my life, thinking that if I just endured it, it would pass, treating him only as a co-parent for raising the child. But in the end, he hit me with such a heavy blow. Since I can no longer endure it, I won't endure it anymore. Just break up directly. Don't go too far. Jiang Yang's shouting was so loud it hurt the eardrums. Our daughter is grown up and doesn't need care anymore. We don't have many days left to live. Wouldn't it be better to spend the rest of our lives the way we want? As a child, I lived according to my parents' wishes. As an adult, I was swept along into marriage, after having children, even if we were only pretending to get along. I would turn a blind eye and work hard to maintain appearances. Social conventions and prejudices are like an invisible dagger, confining many people within a framework. They live their lives by the book, confining themselves within the constraints of conventional thinking. But having been reborn, I want to break free from these shackles and live as my true self. Mom, if you get a divorce, where does that leave my pride? People will laugh at me. I immediately retorted, what's your pride worth? Don't take yourself so seriously. Why should we care about others' opinions and compromise ourselves while living? I realized this truth too late. Fortunately, it's not too late to make things right. After filling my stomach, I took a cup of tea and sat opposite Jiang Yang. He remained silent, saying nothing. I could only work on his thoughts, beginning to persuade him with earnest and well-intentioned advice. After we divorce, you can completely do whatever you want. Even be with Chiao Mai. Jiang Yang sat up slightly straighter, his index finger tightly clasping his thumb. I can tell he's a bit tempted. Keep encouraging him. For example, you always say you want to climb Mount Tai, and Chiao Mai definitely won't stop you. If he insists on acting like a young person despite his joint pain and refuses to accept his age, let him go ahead and suffer the consequences. I frowned. It's better to avoid doing things where your good intentions are mistaken for ill will. I took the agreement out of my bag. Sign it. I have plenty of these in my bag. I printed 20 copies, always ready to regain my freedom. The house goes to you. The cash goes to me. No one is taking advantage of anyone. Jiang Yang stared at me in a daze. It seems he finally realized that I wasn't acting, but genuinely wanted a divorce. Instead, he became somewhat hesitant. Dad, Aunt Mai is here. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open. I watched the two people at the door, feeling a mix of emotions. Earlier, my daughter answered a phone call, and I thought she had to leave for something urgent, but it turned out she went to pick someone up. The reason my daughter is so close to Chiao Mai is because Jiang Yang, without my knowledge, takes her to see Chiao Mai every year. While playing around, I ended up pouring my heart out to them, treating them like my own mother. After raising me for 35 years, there's no credit, only blame. To say it doesn't hurt would be a lie. Moreover, she was well aware of Chiao Mai's identity. Brother Jiang, it's all my fault for causing discord in your family because of me. Chiao Mai looked at the agreement on the table with self-reproach. You should just send me back to America, with my husband and son both gone, and my daughter-in-law and grandchild missing. I have no one to rely on. Should I go back to America and become a beggar? What a clever tactic of advancing by retreating. Dad, you promised to take care of Aunt Mai. My daughter became anxious. She turned to me and yelled, Mom, Aunt Mai is such a good person. Why can't you just accept her? You're so malicious. I was so angry that my whole body trembled, and I slapped her across the face. If you care so much about her, then you take care of her, support her, and treat her like your own mother. Recalling the events of past lives is like a pain that gnaws at the bones. At that time, taking care of Chiao Mai, she repeatedly and deliberately smashed cups on the floor, cut her hands, burned holes in the sheets, and engaged in other such inhumane behaviors. For, in the end, they still say it's because I hold a grudge, so I slam things around, break objects, and torment her. It's just that both father and daughter are blind and foolish, believing everything she says. I'm not only physically exhausted, but mentally I'm on the verge of collapse, almost suffocating. You want a divorce? But are you really going to push your daughter away too? Jiang Yang looked at her as if she had lost her mind. I responded coldly, I want neither you nor her. The father and daughter were both stunned. Their expressions were completely out of control. Jiang Yang finally signed the papers. When I walked out of the door with all my luggage, I felt the air was full of freedom. My daughter held my hand, looking a bit panicked. Mom, can you leave me some money? I said expressionlessly. Adults should be self-reliant. If you want money, go ask your dad. Not only did she choose to side with Jiang Yang, but she also claimed she would support Xiao Mai in her old age, taking care of her like a real mother. My heart is not made of iron after all, and it can hurt too, since I'm not welcome. Why should I give money? It's not like I'm a masochist. Only after staying safely for 7 days in a 5-star hotel did I truly breathe a sigh of relief. Indeed. Leaving toxic people is the best way to protect oneself. In the following days, I looked everywhere to rent a house. After the Lantern Festival, I found a 2-bedroom apartment that was ready to move in, close to the school, and considered a school district property. On the first day of the semester, I entered the school to teach the students. I am a university teacher who has just retired not long ago. The school once offered to rehire me to continue teaching, but I declined at the time. Now, I chose to return just to pass the time. Actually, staying at home alone and doing nothing can make the mind rusty. Scrolling through the phone every day only makes one feel increasingly empty, as it's hard to find a sense of purpose. Boring times are like a harvester, draining everyone's energy and spirit. On my way home after class, I ran into an acquaintance, Xiao Wei. When she saw me, she rushed over excitedly. Aunt Ju, her voice cracked from the excitement. Xiao Wei was once a student I sponsored. It all started when she posted on Zaira Hongshu, saying that both her parents had passed away, and due to poverty, her brother and sister-in-law were forcing her to drop out and work. However, she had excellent academic performance and a strong desire to continue her education, but she didn't know what to do. After investigating, I found that the situation was true, so the support started from middle school and continued until she finished high school. Aunt Ju, I'm going to get something. Please wait for me for a moment. After saying that, she ran off like a gust of wind. When she returned, she was carrying a nylon bag on her back. She was sweating profusely from running, her face flushed red. This is a local specialty I brought from my hometown. I originally intended to deliver it to your house. She handed it over with a hint of embarrassment. I took it, opened it for a look, and said with a smile, I love your family's cured meat and dried vegetables the most. Her eyes suddenly lit up, like the brightest stars hanging in the Milky Way. Dazzling and radiant, Xiao Wei picked up the bag, offering to help carry it home. After I declined, she seemed a little disappointed, but she quickly perked up again. Auntie Ju, I'll head off first then. See you tomorrow. After running a few steps, she turned back and waved at me, her footsteps as light as a cute little rabbit. I shook my head with a smile and carried the heavy things home. After exiting the elevator, I found Jiang Lan pacing impatiently by the door. Upon entering, she glanced at the nylon bag in the corner and curled her lips in dissatisfaction. Students these days don't even know how to give something valuable. I didn't want to argue with her and began organizing the cured meat and other items one by one. Jiang Lan didn't move, just sat on the sofa, looking utterly exhausted. Dad is sick. And Aunt Mai has no one to take care of her, since it's the weekend. Mom, could you go back and help me for a couple of days? She didn't follow my intention at all. It was more of a commanding tone. I just couldn't understand how she could say that. Early this morning, she called and said she missed me. Turns out she just wanted me to go back to be a free nanny. Jiang Lan suddenly stood up. Mom, not only do I have to take care of Dad, but I also have to do the laundry and cook for Aunt Mai. I'm really exhausted. Can't you show a little care for me when I was taking care of both of them at home? Why did no one ever feel sorry for me? Live-in nannies these days earn nearly 10,000 a month. I've dedicated decades to this family, yet who remembers my contributions? I heard Jiang Yang quit his job to focus on taking care of Xiao Mai at home. Back then, I asked why we didn't hire a nanny, and Jianglan rolled her eyes. One you pay for can't have true sincerity. I never had this kind of treatment before. When I was sick, I lay in bed alone with no one to take care of me. The father and daughter still think I'm a superhero with the ability to heal myself. From now on, don't come to me for anything related to Xiaomai. I have nothing to do with her. Jianglan returned defeated and, before leaving, made a harsh remark. Don't come begging me when you get sick in the future. I didn't say a word. Truth be told, I had long given up on this daughter. I didn't deliberately announce my divorce to others. I laughed in exasperation. People saw me coming and going alone, and when a colleague got curious, I mentioned it casually, not going. This matter quickly spread throughout the entire school, and opinions were divided. Some people said that getting a divorce at such an age would make the future uncertain, but others admired my courage and expressed their support. Whether they felt sympathy or took pleasure in my situation, I didn't care. You never know what will happen first, tomorrow or an accident. It's better to live in the present and deal with the future later. Although there is a lot of gossip, Xiao Wei still often shows up around me, after learning about my divorce. She even started coming over from time to help me clean and keep me company. Everyone says she's trying to curry favor with me, hoping to gain some benefits from it. I just laughed it off when I heard it. I sponsored Xiao Wei for 6 years, MPH. When she was filling out her college application, she resolutely chose the school where I teach. When I met her for the first time, her eyes were filled with tears, and she said excitedly, "Aunt Ju, I don't have the ability to repay you right now. I just want to be closer to you." She is a strong-willed girl. When she went to college, she absolutely refused to let me support her and instead applied for a national student loan. She is actually very busy. I don't have much free time. I used to work as a tutor outside of school to earn some living expenses. Now, I work as a photographer for others. I heard that the works she posts online have received great feedback, and she has many followers, making her somewhat of a minor internet celebrity. I both admire and appreciate her. From the countryside to a first-tier city, getting into a bachelor's program relied not only on unyielding perseverance but also on a never-give-up spirit. Time flies, and soon it was graduation season. I was wondering how to pass the time during the summer vacation. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wei invited me to go on a trip together. I frowned upon hearing that. She seemed to sense my concerns. Playfully leaning close to my ear, she whispered, "Aunt Ju, I have money. I promised you when I was little that I'd take you traveling." When she was young, she'd often call me on her sister-in-law's old phone and made all sorts of promises to me. I didn't take it seriously, but she seemed to keep it in mind. I agreed with Xiao Wei that our first stop would be Yunnan. On the evening before departure, Jianglan suddenly came to me. She said hesitantly, "Mom, Housie says he wants to get married. What do you think we should do about this? Make your own decision. Just don't regret it." After my daughter got divorced, she went back to her ex-boyfriend against my wishes. Housie is a good-for-nothing, without a proper job, and a total loser. But Jianglan is a hopeless romantic. Someone says a few sweet words, and she's ready to give her heart to him. Back then, I tried to stop her once and chose a well-matched son-in-law for her, so she could marry with great fanfare. Unfortunately, she couldn't forget her first love and ended up ruining the marriage. Now I don't even want to get involved. Whatever happens, happens. Having been hurt, bled, and hit the wall, perhaps she will finally come to her senses. Jianglan was stunned. Finding it hard to accept, she asked dazedly, "Mom, you used to advise me before. Why now?" I took a sip of water and did not answer. Instead, it was a dismissal. "If there's nothing else, you can go." After years of nagging about the same topic, what more is there to say? She isn't annoyed, but I'm already tired of it. Jianglan suddenly darkened her expression, a cold smile curling at the corner of her lips. "Aunt Mai was right after all. You just don't want me to be happy. You don't want me to marry the one I love. Well, I'm going to marry him anyway." I clutched my chest, feeling as if I couldn't breathe. "Go, just go. Don't come back anymore. I'll pretend I never had you. Since you're an ungrateful wretch, it's time to cut ties and move on. Without me, who will you rely on when you're old? I'm your only family." That arrogant expression made my heart ache even more. "Get out." After they left, my heart was still beating fast, and I felt very uncomfortable. With trembling hands, I dialed 120, then called Xiaowei. I was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, but fortunately, it turned out to be a close call. Xiao Wei leaned over my bedside, crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. She said, "Aunt Ju, let me move in with you. I'm really worried about you." I feel both heartbroken and warmed. This incident has taught me a lesson. Everyone says raising children ensures support in old age, but if the children are unfilial, they come not to repay kindness, but to seek revenge. I had been raising it for half a month before Xiao Wei and I went to Yunnan. She took photos for me. We tried various delicious foods, experienced the local life, and even met many travel enthusiasts. Every day was incredibly exciting, seeing how happy I was. Xiao Wei cheerfully ran over with her camera. "Aunt Ju, how about we move on to the next city? Look, we've gained more followers again. The fans are asking me to film more of you. They really enjoy watching you." I looked at the comments section, feeling a mix of emotions I couldn't quite put into words. Ever since Xiao Wei posted the story of how we met online, everyone has been calling me Aunt Ju the kind-hearted. They say I lifted her up, helping her step onto a bigger stage and embark on a new life. Everyone is thanking me for my good deed. If it was I who pulled Xiao Wei out of the mud, but the one who deserves the most gratitude should be herself, if it weren't for the awards plastered all over the mud wall. If it weren't for the deep longing in her eyes, I probably wouldn't have sponsored her. After all, no one's money comes easily. Where there is effort, there should be reward. Although I never intended to gain anything from her, my original intention was simply to add one more woman's strength to society. Next stop, Wuzhen. I've wanted to go to this place for a long time, but unfortunately, no one would come with me. Xiao Wei smiled and nodded cheerfully. I thought for a moment and asked her, "Are you sure we don't need to pay?" It's a bit embarrassing to say, but so far, I haven't spent a single penny. Xiao Wei said that after the story and pictures were posted, they quickly went viral online. Businesses chased after them, offering to pay for advertisements to ride the wave of popularity. Money kept coming in every day, so there was no need to worry about running out of cash. You can relax, eat, drink, and have fun. Not only will I cover all your expenses, but I'll also share the profits with you later. Xiao Wei affectionately wrapped her arm around mine, laughing freely. The bright sunlight fell on her face, making her look exceptionally beautiful. Compared to the timid girl she was 10 years ago, she was like a completely different person. I sighed inwardly, shaking my head with a smile. No need to give me money. I have a pension and savings, and I don't lack money to spend. Just as I was having so much fun outside that I forgot to return home, my ex-husband called. He sounded somewhat displeased. "Our daughter is getting married. You should come back for the wedding." Without a second thought, I refused outright. Half a month ago, Jianglan called me asking for money. She said without any hesitation, "Mom, you need to give me at least 300,000 for the wedding." I gave her face. For her first marriage, I gave her 400,000. Second marriage and still trying to take advantage. After the divorce, I never saw her show any concern. Only knowing how to take without giving. No one will indulge such a selfish person, even if she is my daughter. Xiao Wei and I traveled everywhere and never went back to teaching. This is the best of times, happily playing every day, uploading photos and videos online, and inserting a few ads. And the money comes in, unlike the old days of working diligently and saving money bit by bit. The dividends brought by the internet not only support us but also allow me to meet many people from all walks of life. I also experienced many activities I had never tried before, and most importantly, it broadened my horizons. As the new year approached, I finally returned home. The next day, however, my ex-husband showed up at my door. He looked me up and down with a complicated expression and said, "Since leaving me, not only have you been doing better, but your life has also become so much more vibrant." I smiled without saying a word. After being hospitalized due to Jianglan's provocation, I immediately blocked all contact information for both the father and daughter. After they found out, they could only call me using someone else's phone. Jiang Yang must have come across me online. After all, I'm somewhat of a minor internet celebrity now, and many relatives and friends know about it. I leaned against the door and told him to stop dawdling and get straight to the point. I hung up the phone directly. Jiang Yang has changed a lot. He was hunched over, as if carrying a mountain on his back. The clothes hung loosely on his body. empty and gaunt, as thin as a stick. His appearance looked a full 10 years older, a world of difference from before. He seemed to be doing very poorly. "Your daughter is sick. Go see her." "I don't want to go, even after half a year has passed. I still can't forget the pain of being on the brink of death." I was gasping for breath and collapsed on the sofa, but she turned a blind eye. "Now, whether she is doing well or not, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not going." But Jiang Yang is picking a fight with me, he's stubbornly refusing to leave. I'm so annoyed that I have no choice but to go to the hospital. Jiang Lan saw me and burst into tears. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing bruised skin. "Mom, Hausi is not human, apart from her face, which remained unscathed. Her entire body was covered in injuries, a shocking sight to behold. He not only abused me but also gambled, swindling all my money. Now I have nothing left." As she spoke, she began to wail uncontrollably. "Mom, I really regret it so much. If I had listened to you back then, I wouldn't have been pinned to the ground and beaten." After hearing her sobbing, I remained silent. Jiang Yang had previously told me the whole story from beginning to end. The young couple lived a blissful life after getting married, but the good times didn't last long. One day, debt collectors came to their door, saying Hausi owed a lot of money. Hausi's gambling addiction was exposed. Jiang Lan confronted him, and at first, he tried to sweet-talk and pacify her. Later, he simply stopped pretending, showed his true colors, and would hit her whenever he was unhappy. The relationship between the two became increasingly tense, and the violence grew more severe. I sneered coldly upon hearing this. A person can pretend for a while, but not for a lifetime. Now that they've tricked the person into their hands, they have nothing to fear and completely drop the act. Jiang Lan could have avoided stepping into the trap. It's a pity she didn't heed my advice, which led to this outcome. I don't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for her. Instead, I want to scold her harshly. "Serves you right. Wait until Jiang Lan's emotions have stabilized, without wasting words." I got straight to the point with my suggestion. "You should get a divorce." She stared at me blankly, hesitating a bit. "Mom, I'm pregnant. Just get rid of it directly. A long pain is worse than a short one. A child born into such a family will not be happy. A useless mother, a gambling father, a broken home. Starting life on the hardest difficulty. Just thinking about these things makes my scalp tingle. I want to keep this child." Hearing this, I stopped trying to persuade her. I knew she was unwilling to accept it, unwilling to accept that her final choice was wrong, still trying to use the child to win over a heartless man. Although most men in this world are inherently selfish, bound by morality, they have their limits. However, expecting a gambler to turn over a new leaf is undoubtedly a fantasy. As I reached the door, I bumped into Jiang Yang pushing Qiao Mai inside. When Qiao Mai saw me, a flicker of displeasure flashed in her eyes. Her smile was insincere. Jiang Lan is too willful. After getting married, how can she come back to her parents' home every day? Sister Ju, you really need to talk some sense into her. I ignored her and turned to glare at my ex-husband. Your daughter was beaten like this. Why didn't you call the police? Jiang Yang stammered. She doesn't live properly, making a scene every day, disturbing the peace of the household. Qiao Mai said family scandals shouldn't be aired in public, so we couldn't call the police. I looked at the father and daughter, speechless. If I hadn't kept the matter under wraps, Jiang Lan's reputation would have been ruined long ago. She took 200,000 from brother Jiang. Spent every day hanging out with Hausi. Neither of them worked, lived off their savings, and only started making a fuss when they ran out of money. How old is she and still wants to rely on her parents? No matter how much money the family has, it won't be enough for her to squander. Qiao Mai spoke with sarcasm and a look of disdain. Upon hearing this, Jiang Lan exploded. She jumped off the bed and started cursing. Why can't my dad's money be given to me? You do nothing all day. Just spread your legs and fake a few tears, and my dad showers you with money. What kind of person are you? Anyway, I was dumbfounded. They used to be as close as mother and daughter. So how did they end up fighting like mortal enemies now? It's only been half a year, but people and situations have developed beyond my imagination. Qiao Mai was so angry she nearly fainted. With tears in her eyes, she tilted her head at a 45-degree angle and cried out in grievance, "Brother Jiang." The lingering tone of her voice echoed, making the listener's heart melt. Jiang Lan pointed at her nose and scolded, You're already this old, yet you still call out so disgustingly. If you love acting so much, why not enter the entertainment industry and star in a drama like The CEO Falls for Me, The Mother's Act? Upon hearing this, everyone present fell silent. Jiang Lan's bizarre remarks made the atmosphere unbearably awkward. Jiang Yang led the people to evacuate urgently. I didn't leave, I wanted to watch the drama, so I asked Jiang Lan what had happened recently, and why she was feuding with Chiao Mai. She sighed and began to explain the reason. It turned out that Jiang Lan couldn't get money from me, so she went to pester her ex-husband. Jiang Yang had intended to sell the 4-bedroom apartment and buy a 2-bedroom one instead, so that half of the extra money could be given to her, but Chiao Mai suddenly objected and firmly refused. She said it was unheard of for a daughter to keep taking money from her parents' home, and with her attitude, they couldn't count on her for support in their old age. Jiang Yang took her words to heart and didn't insist any further. Finally, we barely managed to scrape together 200,000 for the dowry. The bride's family had no money, and the groom's family was even poorer, making the wedding a rather shabby affair that was the subject of private gossip for a long time. Mom, every time I go back to my parents' home, she gives me a cold shoulder and keeps whispering in Dad's ear. Jiang Lan started crying again as she spoke, sobbing intermittently. They say that with a stepmother comes a stepfather, and they were absolutely right. I must have been blind back then to have treated her like my own mother. There is a cause for every effect. I can't blame anyone else. I didn't say anything more, just told her to focus on recovering. She couldn't bear to abort the child. Yet she couldn't stand on her own feet, and no one could help her. After resting at home for a day, I had planned to go to the street to buy some New Year's goods. But I didn't make it. Jiang Lan came. As soon as she entered the door, she knelt in front of me, wailing and howling. Mom, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please, save me. As soon as the words were spoken, footsteps sounded from behind. Looking up, I saw my so-called good son-in-law, Hausi. He grinned obsequiously, trying to please. Mom, you really look younger and younger. Jiang Lan saw him hiding behind me in terror, sobbing. Mom, he tied me up and tortured me. Couples fight. But they make up by the end of the day. Mom, am I right? That shameless, unapologetic look on his face was infuriating to see. I really don't want to deal with this mess, but if we don't settle this today, no one will have peace. Without another word, I immediately took out my phone and called the police. Hausi panicked. Mom, we were just playing around. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Anyway, the police station is right downstairs. When we bought the apartment, that was one of the main reasons. It ensures personal safety. The officer arrived quickly. After hearing the whole story, he took the man away and told us to come to the station later to give our statements. I sighed. I turned to Jiang Lan and said, if you don't want to stay with him, go to the hospital right away to get your injuries examined and obtain a medical report, gather all the evidence, and then file a lawsuit. She almost fainted from crying. Divorce, I've really had enough. Her disheveled hair clung to her bruised face, making her look utterly wretched. Mom, I'm sorry. I was so foolish. I shouldn't have divorced Qinshun in the first place. She clenched her fists tightly, overwhelmed by regret. I withdrew my hand, looked at her broken finger, and had no desire to say a word. Qinshun was the son-in-law I had carefully chosen. He was once my student. He was good-looking, had a bachelor's degree, came from a good family, and knew how to handle himself with grace. After catching Jiang Lan cheating, he didn't make a scene. Instead, he knelt before me, blaming himself and saying, Teacher, I'm sorry, I can't give your daughter the happiness she deserves. When we divorced, Jiang Lan wanted to divide the property, but I stopped her, as the one at fault. How could I have the nerve to take what belongs to someone else? I was determined to find a family of equal social status for my daughter. This not only ensures that both families have similar backgrounds and education levels, but also that their values align closely, allowing the small family to thrive in the long run. Unfortunately, Jiang Lan did not cherish it. Her marriage, which she entered with a downward compromise, did not bring the happiness she had imagined. Instead, it left her scarred and broken. But all of this was what she deserved. I recommended a highly skilled divorce lawyer to Jiang Lan. I wasn't involved in what happened afterward. By the time everything was settled, it was already a month later. Hausi was sentenced to 1 year of hard labor for the crime of abuse. After this incident, Jiang Lan came to a complete realization and decided not to remarry. She wanted to move in with me. But I refused. I haven't lost my memory. Those hurts are still lingering in my mind, never forgotten. 2 days before New Year's Eve, Xiao Wei suddenly showed up. Along with her brother and sister-in-law and their 5-year-old twin sons, they all came, bringing a pile of gifts to the door. Xiao Wei said with a smile, "Aunt Ju, we're celebrating the new year at your place this year, and next year we'll go to mine. It's more lively with more people. You won't kick us out, will you?" The family of 5 all wore pained expressions. Pretending to be pitiful, I was more than willing and deeply moved. On the important day of the grand reunion, they traveled thousands of miles just for me. They made me truly believe that human nature is inherently good. On the 29th, we went shopping in a grand procession. At the entrance of the women's clothing section in the large mall, we found people arguing. Approaching for a closer look, I never expected it to be my ex-husband and his family of 3, at this moment. Chiao Mai looked somewhat disheveled, her wheelchair had fallen to the side, and she was lying on the ground with no one helping her up, all because Jiang Yang and his daughter were in the middle of an argument. After listening for a while, I realized that Chiao Mai wanted to buy a coat worth 5,000 yuan. Jiang Lan refused. She jumped up, pointing at Chiao Mai on the ground, and said, "Have you no shame? A little flower like you has the nerve to wear such expensive clothes." Jiang Yang's face flushed red, and he remained silent, facing everyone's pointing and staring. Chiao Mai embarrassedly buried her face in her chest. I didn't step forward to greet her, but instead decided to go to another store to buy clothes. But sharp-eyed Jiang Lan grabbed me by the arm. She was filled with indignation. "Mom, you've never worn such expensive clothes, so why should she get to wear them?" I just smiled. My ex-husband was actually quite stingy, even without Jiang Lan stopping him. He wouldn't have agreed to spend so much money on a piece of clothing. Otherwise, why would he just stand there, letting his daughter jump around, willing to lose face without saying a word? No matter how devoted a man is, he will eventually grow tired of a woman after being with her for too long. It's like enjoying apples. If you eat them every day, you'll occasionally want to try something different, especially at an older age. Needing someone to take care of you every day, no matter how perfect the first love was, it will eventually be shattered by reality. Without exception, I went into the clothing store, tried on some clothes, and picked out a few that I liked. While paying, Jiang Lan squeezed forward, "Mom, I'll buy it for you." Upon seeing the bill above, she was instantly speechless. Stammering, she said, "Mom, you really don't hold back. When it comes to spending on oneself, one certainly shouldn't be stingy, now. Even a single piece of my clothing costs over 10,000 yuan. Not to mention, I have money now." Xiao Wei returned the money I had sponsored her for 6 years and even gave me a significant share of the profits. When I tried to pay by scanning the code, the shop owner smiled and waved his hand. "Your little girl has already paid." Xiao Wei looked pitiful and rubbed against me. "I've wanted Aunt Ju to be my mom for a long time. Can you give me a chance to prove myself?" My brother and sister-in-law, standing beside me, nodded repeatedly, saying things like their family was unworthy of such an honor. The twin babies suddenly clung to my legs, looking up at me with their adorable little faces. "All the other classmates have grandmothers. I want a grandmother too." Crying and laughing at the same time, Jiang Yang and the others watching the scene had complex expressions on their faces. In the face of life, everything else is trivial, and Xing. Jiang Lan called out weakly, "Mom." I ignored her and instead took Xiao Wei's hand, my gaze gentle. "What do you want? Mom will buy it for you." Wow, I'm so happy. From now on, I have a mom who cares for me too. An excited scream pierced the sky. They crowded around me and led me into another store, all vowing to pay for me. I took off my old clothes, as if discarding bygone matters, and put on one elegant outfit after another, welcoming a new chapter. In this life, I have restarted my journey. Happiness blooms into a beautiful flower in my heart, and my journey into the future has only just begun. Tears streamed down my face. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.